you for joining me on Moto-Chronicles. Today we're going to get out of my garage, we're going to head over to another one. We're going to drive over to New Rochelle and going to meet with the legendary Harley-Davidson collector, Patsy Aiello. So join me. You're going to love this one.
Patsy Aiello has been around forever. And we're just getting into his mind, man. He's got all these stories about his bikes that he's built and collected. And tell me a little bit. How did you get started with motorcycles? You were building cars, race cars, when I was in high school. I remember you had a Camaro, and
yeah. Well, cars took up a lot of space, And then when I got to working on cars, I just retired. I worked on cars for 50 years. I started working at Griffin Ford in 1975. Wow, 75. So 50 years I just retired from. So working on cars all day long, kind of lose interest in having a car, So that's what got me into bikes, And I could have got a job working on bikes, Reggie Pink wanted to hire. No, if I worked on them, it wouldn't be a hobby, it wouldn't be, because then you lose, that. I don't mind working on my bikes, and I really didn't do any motorcycle work for other people. I mean, if they needed a hand, I'd give them a hand, but I didn't. It was my hobby. I was an enthusiast. I didn't want to do it for the money because then it kind of takes it away from me.
So it's the love away. I think. Yeah.
Because then you're doing it for a living. I didn't want to do it for a living. I worked on cars for a living. My bikes were my hobby. My cars, that was my job. So that's why.
What was your first Harley that you got?
I bought the '76 Sportster from Brewster Harley in '76. Rode down to Daytona in '77.
On a hard mounted motor.
Fucking, there was 4 of us on Sportsters. Satch had the lowrider. He had the '77 lowrider, and me, Eugene, Murph had that Sportster. There was somebody else. There was 4 Sportsters, and he's the only one that had the. And this was '77. This was in the height of the fucking the fuel shortage. Remember?
Yeah.
So there was no gas, and we had the little puny gas. I mean, when I think back, we had those little puny gas tanks on the.
So that was when the lines. There was lines to get fuel. Right. I remember those. And then it became you can get fuel on odd and even days.
Right.
Oh man,
it was in the height of that we went down there.
I know guys that just carried a little extra gas can with a tube, and they were just siphoning gas.
What we wound up doing was, remember Mike Megat? Drive from. He came down with us. He had a pickup truck, and we put a 55-gallon drum in the back of his pickup. So we put all our gear in his truck, and we had that 55-gallon that we filled up with fuel whenever we found the station open. So we'd pull in. I remember one time we pulled into this fucking gas station. No. There was a gas line going around the parking lot.
And you're filling up a 55-gallon drum.
He pulled in with the pickup, and we all pulled up next to him. We were all filling up our bikes off of his. Then we took off. It was a fucking goof.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we went down there, and that was the Sportster in '76. Then I traded in for the '80 Wide Glide, the Flame Wide Glide. Yep, and then the Wide Glide I traded with Eugene for the Heritage. Yeah, because the Heritage, my buddy Eugene bought that brand new, and he didn't ride it much. And then he moved up to Lake George. He bought a little shop up there, a luncheonette. So he got rid of all the stuff. So I knew that bike since it was new, and it had no miles on it.
Okay, so after that Heritage, what was next?
Well, the Knucklehead came in '79. So the Sportster was '76 to '80. So after the Sportster, I guess I got the Knucklehead. And then after the Knucklehead, I got the Shovelhead, the Wide Glide. And then from the Wide Glide, I went to the Evo.
So now basically you've got all these different motors, different eras of bikes now.
Yeah. That was my plan from the get-go. From the get-go was, I wasn't particular to any one motor. I liked the Knucklehead. I knew that. Okay. But I pretty much wanted one of each motor. So that's when I started. I got the Knucklehead, which I thought might have been the hardest one to get. So I figured, let me get that right off the bat. So I got that. Then I got the Shovelhead. Then I got the Evo. Then, and I had a lot of bikes in between, bikes that, I got for a dance or they needed restoring or something. So I got it, restored it, fixed it, flipped it. So I could keep going. I got the Flatty in between. This was the Squire's bike.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, the Squire. This was stepped into that, because Bob Squire, he was.
That's
he was a legend.
Antique Bob.
Antique Bob.
Yeah, God rest his soul. I remember him coming around, and he had a funny way about him, right?
Yeah, he was like a cowboy.
He'd come into the tattoo shop, and he'd be kind of like,
Yeah, he had that 56 Ford with the freaking windshield, with that visor on front of it. And his old lady, he had that little Hummer for the old lady.
It's funny. I think back to those days, meeting those guys that was like, what's his name? Reed over there.
Eddie Reed's
Eddie
in
Reed's in Mount Vernon. And everybody used to stop by the tattoo shop back then.
Yeah, Big Joe's, sure.
You meet all these people that now, to me, are legendary.
Yeah, half of them are gone,
and
Paul.
90% of these people are gone. I mean, we just lost Tall Paul.
Yeah, he was a legend.
And
for sure.
Do you know how I met Tall Paul? I brought a BSA 650, and it ran terrible. It was my first street bike. It was before I bought the AMF Sportster, the 76 Sportster.
Right.
I found he had a little shop in Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
I brought it over there. It had a magneto. It was a real. The bike was terrible. It ran like garbage. He fixed it, and I could basically tinker it right around the block. I could never really take it anywhere because it always broke down. But that's how I met Paul. Paul was a really unique guy.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of legends that passed on, So it's a good thing that you're doing this, because a lot of guys are not with us anymore, And, I mean, we're close-knit. Everybody knows everybody, around here. I mean, I consider myself just a regular guy. I just, I figured, like I say, bikes took up less space, and you never, you always want something else. You always want your next project, And some are keepers, some are not. I mean, I've had bikes along the way that I knew I wasn't going to keep them, but I didn't want to pass them up. I got that Sportster 62 Sporty, which was a chopper. It was I got it for a dance, and I really didn't even want it.
Right.
It was a magneto friggin' kickstart 62 Sporty. Pain in the ass bike to start.
That BSA was the same way. It had a magneto on there. It was terrible.
Pain in the ass.
Terrible.
And with the shifter on the wrong side, I was coming down the hutch one day.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I'm coming down the hutch one day, and I had just had my foot laying on what I thought was the brake. So I'm coming around the bend, and my foot must have touched it, thinking I'm on the brake, friggin' downshifted it. I thought I blew the motor up.
Yeah.
The friggin' motor revved up high because I didn't even have the clutch in. It just banged.
BSA was like that. The shifter was on the right, the brake was on the left.
Yeah,
and it took me so much. I hated it.
It's not so bad if it's the only bike you got.
Right.
Because then you're used to it.
I had a dirt bike at the time, too.
Yeah.
So I was used to, at that time, that was my first street bike. I had been running dirt bikes forever since I was 12.
Right.
And so I was so used to shifter on the left.
Because
so now getting
like
the BSA, it was like a whole new learning curve.
Yeah, you can't think about stuff like that. It comes natural, And if you got friggin' 4 or 5 bikes that have shifter on one side, now it's on the other side, you can't think about that.
So your collection's kind of complete now? What do you? How many bikes you have now?
I got 7. So I got the Knuckle, I got the Flatty, the Knuckle, the Pan, the Shovel, the Evo, the Twin Cam. I'm missing an M8, and the Sportster.
The Street Glide is
Street Glide is a twin cam.
It's a twin cam. Okay.
So I'm missing the M8, and if they come out with that icon that I'm thinking that they're going to do.
I just sold an M8 to somebody.
Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of it.
I had a Street Bob. Just got rid of.
But what I'm thinking is, that Harley's been coming out with these icon series. Remember, they came out with the Shovelhead,
right?
And they came out with the Panhead this year, the red and white one last year.
Yeah,
actually.
right.
So I'm thinking the next one is going to be a Knuckle, because it's off the shelf shit. They got the Springer.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So it would be nothing for them to make a Knucklehead, because they did everything else. And if they do that, that's going to be my M8. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
I'll buy that.
Okay. That'll complete the collection. Till they change it. Bring out another motor.
I got another motor I'm thinking of.
Well, now you got, don't forget, now you got the M8, and now then you have the Revolution.
I don't think I'm going to go that way.
Which really isn't like a Harley motor. So
I think now they really turned the page with that.
Yeah.
I mean, getting rid of the Sportster line, when they went to that,
what a
that's
mistake.
crazy. That was a mistake.
Yeah,
It really
I
was.
agree. I think most of
They should have
real
kept that.
Harley riders, real Harley enthusiasts are kind of feeling like they really missed the boat on that one.
Yeah, I mean, they could have kept both. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, people
Even if they
diehards.
kept an 883,
Yeah.
but you know what? The 48 with the big fat front tire was a really popular bike.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Why not have that and the other one, you know?
Yeah.
I think it was a mistake for them to get rid of that Sportster line and come out with this stuff. Because this bike's got nothing in common with the old Sportster. Really.
Yeah,
Doesn't look like it. There's nothing carried over.
I think they keep making the bike. It's fine. It's going to go to a certain demographic. Yeah, certain young guys might want
but it's
that.
a whole different bike.
But it's a different bike, so you shouldn't have the Sportster name.
Exactly.
It should have been a different name.
Exactly. I mean,
And,
Sportster.
They made that mistake a few times in history. You know?
Yeah.
They did that a few times in history with certain bikes in the soft tail line where they had they tried to model it after an older bike, but it was nothing like that.
They missed the boat.
Yeah,
Right.
it was
It's like what GM did with the GTO.
Yeah.
You know, when I worked at Pontiac, they came out with that GTO. Had nothing to do with the GTO. All they did was slap on a name. You can't just slap on a name and expect to get, the heritage behind it. It's like fucking Indian now.
Yeah.
You know, they're saying established 1901. What? There's a 50-year gap in between there. You got no connection to Indian. Indian died in 53. Okay?
Amazing.
And then now you see it says since 1901. They put that on the bike.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not. It's a whole different company. It's a, there was
Polaris owns it.
Yeah. And before Polaris, you had all these other companies that came out with Indians. All they did was throw the name around.
Yeah.
But how could you think that you could ride on their shirt? You know what I'm saying? When you got nothing to do with that Indian.
Yes.
All you got is the name.
Business.
Business.
Money makes the world go round.
That's nuts.
So, you started collecting these bikes. And
it's a hobby, I mean, the old lady, you got to have something to release, tension or whatever, So I mean, I'd come down here, I'd play with the bikes, no harm done.
All right, let's do a little walk around.
Okay, yeah.
Thanks for joining me on Moto-Chronicles with our outstanding interview with Patsy Aiello. And please like and subscribe. With that said, join us on part 2 as we do a walk around and check out all the bikes with Patsy Aiello. Don't miss it. It's going to be great. See you soon.